We are live. Thank you, folks, for tuning in today. Welcome to Theology Unleashed. Arjuna has left the chat. This is where Western skepticism meets Eastern theology and gets crushed. I'm your host, Josh Wolf, and I'm joined today by three guests because we're not only about the content, we're about innovating the game, changing the format, revolutionary and innovative ways to debate theism, atheism, objective and subjective morality today. This is our first intersectional debate. We're going to be debating two premises at cross purposes with each other. And today's debate is about objective morality. Does it exist? Is there such a thing as objective morality being argued from theistic and atheistic positions? And joining me today for the debate, we have, let's go clockwise. So I'm your host, Josh Wolf, phoning it in from Auckland, New Zealand, and immediately to the this side here, I'm joined by Ram, who's calling in from the Czech Republic. Thanks for joining us today, Ram.
Thank you guys very much for having me. Do I have to introduce myself?
We'll do that in a second.
Okay.
We've got TJump below, phoning it in
Hi, I'm
from
TJump.
TJump and TJump's couch and TJump's microphone. You're in Minneapolis, is that right?
I think so. I don't know.
Okay. Haven't been out of the house for a while, huh?
Quite a while.
Pretty much the way things are at the moment. And then this way, down here in the bottom corner, Nama Maduria from Auckland, New Zealand. Welcome, Nama.
Thank you.
So, yeah, how about we go around, do a round of introductions. TJump, famous on the internet. Ram and Nama Maduria, this is your first time in an internet debate, first time on the channel. So, Ram, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, so basically I'm just a regular guy. I'm just studying right now in university, and I have a lot of interest in theology and a little bit of philosophy, and I just saw the opportunity to go on here, and I seized it.
Yeah, it was during a debate, right? You were in the comments and you were like, somebody should debate, about this or something like that. Which debate was that?
I don't remember which debate that was, but I was in the comments live, and I'm like, wow. I heard TJump's position. I'm like, wow, does he actually believe it? And then I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to go and debate him. Why not?
Yeah, it was a TJump debate, and you were like, someone should debate him on this. And I was like, well, how about you? And you were like, okay, let's do it. Awesome. So if you're in the comments and you're watching today and you got something to say, Ram is proof positive that you can get on the channel wherever you are in the world. Magic of the internet. We're going clockwise. How did we manage to skip around there? Anyway, Nama Maduri, you're up next. We're going clockwise.
Okay. Well, I'm 16 and I'm doing homeschooling at the moment. I'm applying to universities, and I've always been interested in philosophy because I've read some amount of it. And part of my education is to do rhetoric. So this is a great opportunity to practice rhetoric with other very intelligent people. So that's a really great opportunity that Sita Putty propositioned me to do. So I'm very grateful. Thank you. Or Josh, yeah. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on, and proof positive that you're never too young or never too old to get involved. Thanks for stepping up and representing. And TJump, for those who don't know you, you want to give a brief introduction?
Yeah, I'm TJump. I read the dictionary online for money. I just sit there for like 6 hours and just start at A and go to D. I get about to D and then I fall asleep. And I'm paid to do this. This is my full-time job of reading the dictionary online. And you can see me reading the dictionary and find my OnlyFans on my YouTube channel. Check it out, youtube.com/TJump.
Epic. So if you want to get anything past D, you got to subscribe to TJump's OnlyFans. Okay, great. So today's debate, objective morality. Is there such a thing? And there is no other moderator today. Arjuna was here, but he bounced. He's actually moving house at the moment. I helped him move a piano yesterday. He bought a house, and the lady was sentimentally attached to the piano. She's like, this piano belongs in the house. It has to stay here. He was like, okay, I can roll with that. As soon as he took possession, he's like, rings me up. Can you come and help me move the piano? So we carried it out of the house and dropped it on the side of the road outside a play center. which we had donated it to. So they were expecting it. So that's why he's not here this week. So I'm going to be kind of pulling dual duty today as a debate participant and the moderator. So we are debating, is there objective morality from a theistic and an atheistic position? So I'm taking the position there is no objective morality from a theistic position. Ram's taking the position there is no objective morality from an atheistic position. Nama Midoriya is taking the position that there is an objective morality from a theistic position. And TJump is taking the position that there is an objective morality from an atheist position. So how do we want to do this? Around like a kind of championship ladder of rock, paper, scissors, Spock, dynamite to see who goes first?
Not it.
Okay, TJump doesn't want to defend, he wants to attack. Does anyone want to go first?
I could go.
Okay.
I could go first.
Ram, you're it.
So
Represent atheism.
Should I give? Yeah. Should I give a brief introduction of the argument, or just go straight for it?
Yes.
Yes to what?
Yes to both of them.
Okay. So, first of all, I'll try to give my brief understanding of TJump's conception of objective morality, and then he can correct me on some things if I'm wrong. Okay. So
nah, just straw man him hard.
Okay. So, as I understand, TJump's conception is that objective morality exists, and it's similar to something like fitness or health. So it is present in nature, and it is some law that exists in nature that, is, as far as I understand, is it independent of human mind? You said that this set of rules or this morality would apply to aliens as well if they existed, etc., to all conscious life forms. Do I understand that correctly?
Yes, that's what objective means.
Okay, yes. So I have a couple of problems with that argument. I believe that, I'll have to have a disclaimer first of all. I believe in God, I'm a theist, but for the sake of the argument, I'll be arguing from an atheistic point of view, right? Because I don't think that from an atheistic point of view, you could have an objective morality, because I don't think that it is a natural law. I don't see any evidence for being natural or, being beyond human mind. That's what I don't understand. On which basis do you conclude that this morality exists outside of human mind? Why is it subjective? Why isn't it just why is it objective? Sorry. Why isn't it just subjective opinions of people, and they determine based on it? On which foundation do you state that this is objective and it transcends human minds? This is my question.
Because it would apply to aliens and all living species in the universe.
Okay, it would apply to them, but okay, as I understand, your model of morality is based on imposition of free will, right?
Imposition of will. There's no free will.
Imposition on free will, on someone's free will. Is that correct?
There's no free will. It's just imposition of will.
Okay, on will. Let's assume on will. Okay.
Just to clarify that point, are you saying that there is no free will in your model, or are you saying that free will does not exist? Like you're some kind of super hard determinist?
Both.
Okay.
Both. Okay, that was your answer. Okay. But on which basis do you make this model? On which basis do you think a model can be created? Why do you think that? Why is it similar to fitness or
It's
health?
going straight for the rebuttal.
Okay. For example, fitness, right? What do you mean by fitness? Like the survival of the fittest, like natural selection? So how is the capability of a living organism to survive? Is that what you classify as fitness?
Yes, the ability for an organism to survive in different environments.
Okay, this we can observe, be objective. An organism can survive in an environment. Okay, the organism survives, is able to reproduce, his generations go on and on, whatever, right? This is something objective we can see. We cannot see this same objectivity with...
Back in the question, yes,
position
we
of free
can. We can
will.
observe it just fine. So we can observe
Okay,
just like
okay.
we can observe.
But
Wait,
okay,
wait, wait. So we can just like we can observe that there are organisms that can survive in more or less environments. We can observe that there are more or less environments or more or less interactions that we can have in environments. So it's the exact same. They're the same
okay,
thing.
yes, that's correct. We can observe that there are interactions, but to make judgment based on these interactions is subjective. How is it objective?
No, it's like saying
Oh,
we
no,
could make
okay.
a judgment that
Okay.
the more fit animal is the one that dies faster. Like we're giving it the
okay,
category
okay.
because it's a higher extreme.
That's correct. Okay. So we can make these objective claims that some organisms survived or not. Yes?
Yes.
But can we say that, okay, it's good or bad that they survive? How can
That's
we
like
make
asking
this judgment?
why do we call it more fit if they can survive longer rather than calling it less fit that they
I'm not
survive
saying
longer?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying, is it good that they survived or is it bad that they survived? What is the answer?
That's like asking, is it more fit if they survive or less fit if they survive? That it's a category
No,
error.
that
Like
is
our
not, no,
definition
that
doesn't
is,
make a difference.
no. Look. What you're saying is we can say if they're more fit or less fit. They're more fit if they survive. They're not fit if they don't survive. Okay, is that correct?
No. This is your point. You asking why is it good is like asking why is them surviving more fit? Why do we call an animal who survives more often? Why do we call that more fit?
I'm not saying that why is it more good. I'm saying, is it good or bad? Can you make that judgment? If something survives, is that good or bad?
I'm repeating
Can you
myself.
answer the
You're asking the same thing. Why do we call surviving more fit? Why do we call more positive interactions
Okay,
good?
because
It's
they're
a
able-
title.
Okay. Yes, it is the title. Okay, listen. Why? Okay, we can say that it is more fit based on the objective fact that it survived and it had offsprings. Correct. We can say it is more fit because it survived. Yes?
Yes, that's what we call more fit.
Yes, but it is not in the same category of what I'm asking. What I'm asking is
It's
okay, it is fit. It survived. Okay, let's say that. Now, is the fact that it survived, is it good? Is it good, morally, or is it bad that it survived?
It has nothing to do with it. Those are two separate things.
Yes,
Fitness
exactly.
and morality are separate categories.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. Is that the organism did something, it reproduced, right? It did an action, correct?
Your question makes absolutely no sense. So morality and fitness are both higher order emergent properties. Fitness describes how many environments an organism can live in. Morality describes different kinds of interactions that can happen between agents in an environment. We can say that an animal is more fit if it survives longer or in more environments. We can say an action is more moral if it produces more positive interactions between agents. Like this is not hard.
Okay. It is an action is more moral if it produces more positive agents, right? But why?
Interactions between agents.
Yes, interactions between agents. Why is that?
Why is it that we call something more fit if it survives more?
Because we have a criteria that is objective. We have one living entity.
No, you're not getting it. You're not getting it. So
no.
So just think about no. Stop for a second. So there's two possibilities here. There are certain kinds of animals that die in more environments, and there's certain kinds of animals that live in lots more environments who don't die. Now we could call the ones who die the most fit. They're the most fit ones because they die in the most environments. Like we could call it that, but we don't because we like calling the ones that live more fit. But what we call it doesn't make a difference. The objective fact of the matter is that this phenomenon exists regardless of whether we call it good or bad or whether we call it fit or not fit. The title we give it makes no difference to the objective phenomenon.
Based on what? Listen.
Our opinion. We call it more fit because it survives more. We like that title. So we call something good because it.
I think I can see. Let me just jump in here for a second. Stand up the clinch. First of all, it kind of looks like Ram has come into this debate as like a segue from the last one, straight in from the presentation that you made in the last debate, TJump. So for people who aren't familiar with TJump's position on this, Ram has, gone straight into the rebuttal of TJump's position. I think what I can hear here is that, correct me if I'm wrong, Ram, what you're pointing to is the objective measure of fitness is increased population over time.
Correct.
And TJump, you're saying that that's an analogy that you've used, and that morality is increased positive interactions or greater positive interactions between agents.
Or less imposition of will, yeah.
Okay. Now, is your question, Ram, what makes that good? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, what makes that good and what makes that positive? That is my question.
Okay, so the question then is that if morality is what is good and what is bad, what is it that is being measured? How do you define? Because an increased population
the lack
is a
of
number,
imposition
right?
of will is what's being measured. So we're measuring the amount of imposition of will. Less imposition of will is more
Okay.
good. But if you're asking, well, why do we label that more good? It's like asking, well, why do we label things that survive more as more fit?
Okay, that was my question.
That's the definition of what is good.
Yes. Okay, so what I'm asking is that, okay, you brought up your model of the imposition on will, let's say will, right? And where do you get that model, right? From where? What is the source? You said previously in your debates is that you base it off moral progress and moral intuition. Is that correct?
Yes, those are the phenomenon that are morality, and we
yes.
plot those out and describe a principle that can describe that phenomenon.
Okay, are there objective criteria to build a model? Or are they subjective?
What does that even mean? Like you can build anything you want. Build a model as anything you want.
Okay.
Objectivity is if it exists independently of your hypothesis. Like what you're saying makes no sense.
Could you repeat that last part again? I didn't.
So I observe a phenomenon. There's moral intuition and moral progress.
Yes.
Then I plot these out and try to describe a principle or make a principle that describes these phenomenon. And then whether it's objective or not is if that principle corresponds to something in reality. What I'm using to make up the principle is irrelevant. I could just shake a magic 8-ball and come up with a random gibberish thing. And if that corresponds to reality, it's objective. So what I'm using to come up with the hypothesis is irrelevant to its objectivity.
Okay, you say that it's a phenomena outside of human minds. This is what you believe.
No, again, so the phenomenon I'm
No,
describing, moral intuition and moral progress, is just a phenomenon. Like it could be completely in human minds. That's irrelevant. You can make anything you want to make a hypothesis.
It exists independently.
No, wrong. So there is a phenomenon we see. Doesn't matter what it is. So if we see an ocean in the distance, maybe it's a mirage and it's just a figment of our imagination. Maybe it's a real ocean. We create hypotheses. We say, one, it's in a mirage. One, it's a real ocean. Those are two different hypotheses off of the same phenomenon. Okay. It doesn't matter what the actual cause is yet. It's irrelevant. If there's a real ocean there, then the phenomenon is objective. So if there is something in reality that this principle I've made up is describing, then it's objective. What I'm using to come up with the principle is irrelevant. It makes no difference.
And a mirage.
Then it's subjective, yes.
Yes. So what I'm trying to say is that objective morality in general is more like a mirage. It's something that we conceived as humans, right?
Okay, that's your hypothesis, but that's just a hypothesis.
Okay, but look, I saw your discussion with Joe Schmidt, right? And then you said that you just
could you like actually bring forward an argument or something? Like just referencing other debates doesn't help anything.
I'm referencing what you said. I'm referencing your model basis. I did my.
This is okay. In debates, you're supposed to present an argument in the debate, not just reference other things that we've said before.
Listen.
So present an argument.
1 second. I presented plenty of arguments. Could you listen for a second?
Presented none.
This guy. Okay. So in your discussion, you said that you. Oh, so you don't want to defend your own words? Is that what's happening?
No. This is a debate. In a debate, you have to present an argument.
That's fine.
You have a position. You present an argument. It doesn't matter what I said in any other debate. Present an argument.
Okay, let me just finish. Okay, so in that discussion with Joe Schmidt, you said that you cannot prove objective morality. You just believe it. Is that a faith-based argument on your part? You said
No,
that there
it's
is
a
no evidence. If there
hypothesis.
was evidence, okay, it's a hypothesis. Okay. So okay.
Yes, it's a
But-
hypothesis. That's how hypotheses work. It's not faith-based unless I claim it's objectively real with no evidence. I haven't claimed it's
But
objectively real. I
that's
claimed
what
it's
you
a
said. That's what
hypothesis.
you're saying. Okay, your hypothesis is that morality objectively exists, yet you cannot provide any proof of it.
You don't have to provide proof for hypotheses.
Okay, but what do you base it on? What do you base the hypothesis on?
Do you
Less
not
imposition
understand
of
what a
will.
hypothesis is?
No, but what do you? Okay, I understand you have a model, but what do you base? What is your source for thinking that there is objective morality?
Do you understand the
my
difference
question.
between a hypothesis and a theory?
Yes,
What is it? Tell me the difference.
a hypothesis. A hypothesis is a conclusion you come up with based on reasoning. Yes, based on things you have been presented with, and a theory is something with more formulaic.
No, that is not the difference. So a hypothesis is just a made-up explanation. It's just something we think this thing is causing that. That's a hypothesis. A theory is when the hypothesis is confirmed by empirical data.
That's what I said. Literally, I said it's more formulaic. It has a formula. You can prove it. And
It has nothing to do with the formula. Hypotheses can have much more complicated formulas. The formulaic has nothing to do with it. It has empirical
Okay.
verification.
But what? Okay.
So
why is the
a hypothesis is an unverified theory. A theory is a verified hypothesis.
Okay. So you have a hypothesis. Why is that hypothesis credible? What makes it credible? What makes your hypothesis better than any other, or in case mine? That I believe that. It's subjective.
Okay, so unverified means it has not been verified yet. So
Okay,
all the
what do you
hypotheses
base
are
it
just.
on? You have reasoning.
You're asking.
based
I've already
on.
answered this. I've already answered this.
What
It's
is
a
the reasoning?
hypothesis.
What-
It makes no difference what
Okay.
you base it off of. I could shake a magic 8-ball
Okay,
and
so
that
it's
can make
empty.
a hypothesis.
So
No, that's
what you're
not how
saying
hypotheses work. You
doesn't
don't
have any
understand science.
relevance.
No. What you're saying has no relevance because you don't understand how a hypothesis works. A hypothesis is what what we think could cause the explanation. There could be infinitely many hypotheses. We can
But
say
what-
some are
you base
conceptually
it
better,
on
and
some
that's
reasoning.
fine.
Is that you base a hypothesis on reasoning, or what do you base it on? Just whim?
Stop
Is it
asking that
whimsical?
question because it doesn't make a difference. I've already answered this. It makes no difference what you base a hypothesis on. You could have dreamed of a farting leprechaun that gave you the idea. That's a valid hypothesis. How you came to the hypothesis makes no difference. All that
Okay,
matters is
okay.
can it be verified independently of your imagination?
Can it be?
No, not yet. That's why unverified hypothesis
Okay.
means.
Okay. So you can't verify your hypothesis that states that.
That's what
objective
hypothesis
morality
means.
exists. Okay, you can't verify it.
Which has been said millions of times in every conversation I've ever had. Like, if I could verify it, I'd already have a Nobel Prize. Obviously, I can't prove objective morality.
And there we have it, folks. TJump has admitted defeat. He cannot prove objective morality. Thanks for tuning in today. I'm gonna play that on a loop. It's gonna become a meme sample.
But I mean, that's always been my position. So saying there is an objective
look,
morality doesn't
look.
mean we need to be able to prove it.
TJump,
So
TJump.
different topics.
Okay. But for the sake of the
Ram Gopal has left the chat.
All right.
Okay. You know what? I mean, that was straight to the rebuttal, right? There was no presentation of a particular position in that. But one thing that I did get from that is I actually understood your model of objective morality for the first time.
Cool.
Yeah. I would call it more of a theory than a hypothesis. It's not really like objective morality. It is an objective morality. Can we create a morality on an objective basis? And you've selected one basis for a morality that can be objectively measured. And that's less imposition of will. And then we define that as good.
Well, no. So I'm saying that thing exists. There's some part of reality which that principle describes. So like
Yes.
saying things that are more fit are things that survive better. That's just a
Yes.
definition I made up. But it also happens to be the case that there are things that survive more. And so there is that thing in reality to which this definition I just made up corresponds to, which is what makes it objective. So if the definition I made up corresponds to something in reality, then it's objective.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily morality, though. That would be the sticking point there, because you've arbitrarily selected some objective measure. You could, select like the
No.
strength.
So morality, there's only one thing that morality is. Morality is our moral intuitions and moral progress. That's it. That's the only thing morality can refer to. Whatever is causing those things, that is morality. There isn't another option. So whatever is causing our moral intuitions and moral progress, that is morality. If it's just evolution, then morality is just a figment of evolution. If it's an emergent property in nature, then morality is an emergent property of nature. If it's a god, then morality is caused by a god. Morality is whatever is causing our moral intuitions and moral progress. And so because I'm describing those phenomena, it's not arbitrary. I'm describing here is a thing that can cause those phenomena.
Okay, you're on a roll. Do you want to go now?
What? Me?
Make your presentation. Would you like to do that?
I think I did. I mean, as responding to his stuff, pretty much gave all of it, so I'm good at that.
Would you mind it slightly again a little, because I had really bad internet in the chat.
Sure. So my view is that we have moral intuitions and moral progress. These are phenomenon we experience in the world. They could be illusory, like a mirage on the distance that's not really there, or it could be a real ocean that's really there. And my position is it's probably a real ocean. There's probably a real thing that is causing our moral intuitions and moral progress, independent of just our imagination. It is a real phenomenon, just like fitness is a real phenomenon. It is an objective fact that some animals can survive in more environments than others. And so that feature of fitness is an objective feature of the world, independent of our imagination. And so if it is the case that the same kind of higher order emergent property can exist for morality, then that can also be an objective feature of reality, and I think it is. So I think that just like animals can be more fit, and that is an objective feature, we can have a world that is more moral, and that's an objective feature of the world. And so we can compare, like, this world is more moral than this world, just like we can compare this animal is more fit than this animal, because it has this property of it. And I think the property is less involuntary position of will. And the reason I come to that is because I look at the moral intuition and moral progress, our experiences of, like, saying killing people for fun is immoral. That's our moral intuition. And it seems like as society progresses, people become more moral. So, like, we give more rights to individuals, like women's rights, voting rights, eliminating slavery. We seem to give gay rights. We seem to give more of these moral things to people. So moral progress seems to be increasing. And so we have to describe a principle that can accurately describe what these two things are. And the principle to me seems to be any involuntary imposition of will is immoral. And if that's correct, then there is this higher order emergent property that exists just like fitness does in the world. And I think that's what objective morality is.
I'm back.
Yeah, welcome. Okay, so that are you happy with that, Nama? Did you get that?
Yeah. Could you elaborate a little bit more on what you mean by involuntary position of will? Because you said that super fast. Is that the right?
Yes.
Word? Cool. Okay. Just checking out that. Yeah.
Okay, we've now shuffled the order of the clockwise thing, but that's cool.
No, but can I ask you a couple of questions based on your model, right?
I think we've already gone through a lot. We should probably give her a chance to present her model.
Let's roll around, and then we'll have questions once we finish with the presentation. So TJump's given his presentation partly in response to your questions, and then in order to elucidate it further for Nama Madhurya. So that's Ram and TJump so far. And would you like to go next, Nama, or would you like to go last?
I'm happy to go next. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I've just been thinking about that. I'm presenting from the position of that there is objective morality, and that there is according to theism, basically. So I'm just going to present my view on that, and feel free to argue once I've finished, I guess, or to make points, or any feedback is fine. So I'm going to be arguing my point from the grounds of, or from the, I suppose, angle of epistemology. So, how we justify claiming that we know something is true. So that's basically what I'm going to be presenting my question from, or my point from. So I'm going to begin this with with the question of reality, kind of like we touched on a little bit from what I could hear of the previous arguments. So there's very few ways that we can prove that we live in a real world, because the instruments that we use in science to prove all of the other things about the world are material instruments. You can't, it's circular reasoning if you try to use as part of what you're trying to prove it. So we can't exactly do that. So one of the ways that, basically the only way really, that we prove that the scientists and everyone really proves that we live in a real world is self-evidently, by waking up from a dream when you're sleeping, and you wake up from a dream, you experience for yourself that your waking state is more real than your dreaming state. And people accept this, and therefore scientists and the whole society today, especially being oriented around science, is just very willing to just take this and have all the scientists take extreme risks, just judging for the rest of using all of their experiments and finding out everything more about the world. And so therefore, the fact that there is reality is objective moral good, because why would the scientists want to risk all that they do and dedicate their lives and all of their education and trying to move society towards all this knowledge if it wasn't an objective good? Because why would it matter? No one would care. It proves that you care, that we think that there's reality and that the scientists are willing to discover so much about the real world. So this is what I wanted to start off with, because it relates me to the science a little bit more, and usually they're more on the atheistic side. So this goes all the way back to, as well, Aristotle's foundational, in that not all knowledge is demonstrative, and some has to be independent of demonstration on a kind of I can seal it kind of way. And I think waking up from a dream is quite close to that, as you're going to get, because one has to experience it for themselves, but it's harder to demonstrate, as it is to demonstrate, for example, how a car works. A car is a scientific invention, so that's a kind of just a side note there, that it connects back to Aristotle. So my next point of that basically is that, so reality established that reality is good, because people base so much of their lives on discovering about reality and care about it. It's it's better to be real than it is to be unreal, for example. So this comes to my next point, which is that something which has the ability to prove itself to you, something which is self-evident, is not physical, but it's otherwise it wouldn't have an ability. So this is kind of the role of consciousness, of how as the instrument that we use to judge it. But I'll come back to that in a minute. And I'll go on to saying that the scientist making the stand in the world is an ethical determination. It means that you care. And so taking these risks and valuing knowledge as well as a good, as a like stem of knowing that reality is good, is part of having an objective moral system that's based on medicine, not physics. So we think today that we've based our entire society, it's a very big moving, just regular lives on technology and on iPhone. We're all using an iPhone to have this. We all have a washing machine, most likely a dishwasher, things, internet in our houses, and so we do lives off of technology and science, and we're all very grateful for that. We've an objective moral system, and it's the whole system that science demonstrates all comes from the care and the good and the moral good that reality is real. So I thought that was an interesting thing to point out, for that there is objective morality, because we all believe in science, because we're all using it. If we didn't believe in it, none of us would be on our iPhones or computers debating objective morality, and they all can agree on that. And so that was one relatable aspect I wanted to try and, or one relatable example that I want to try to connect you guys with is that we believe in science, but science stems from an objective moral system. It's part of that objective moral system that society is based on. So now that I've established that, just like in atoms and electromagnetic forces, a lot of, and nuclear forces, those are some of the source of a lot of science today. So everything that's a physical object has a source, but metaphysical science itself comes from a metaphysical source, which is the experience of reality. So therefore, metaphysical objects like reality and objective moral good also have a source. And the source of all metaphysical reality, including including justice, peace, charity, chastity, all of these stem from God. Absolute, or you could say an absolute reality, or an which explains all relative. So the moral systems that we all adhere to, the moral, what did you call it? Moral intuition? Moral intuition? Yeah, so all of that stems from this absolute truth. Because we have all these systems and these intuitions, and we have all these systems that we base society off of. We have the justice system, a huge part of our culture, and it's all based off of these morals. Like justice itself is a metaphysical principle. And so metaphysical objects, which have a source in God, like reality, like that reality proves itself, scientist is a moral good to do science, part of this ethical system, because you only have to, it's part of this ethical system because one of the main big leading points is it right? Is it good? So is it of justice? You only have to, that's another example. I have the scientist example, and then according to more of having morality linked to a system, you have the example of you only have to practice being a good person compared to being a criminal to know that acting as a good person is better. Example of charity.
You're breaking up there, Nama.
That means you're helping others.
Nama, if you can hear me, maybe try turning off your, can you turn off your camera?
What was that?
Your signal is breaking up. Can you try turning off your camera? I think your bandwidth is quite low from where you are.
Okay.
If you turn off, there should be a button on there so you can turn the camera off, and then we'll just get the audio.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Sorry, I'll keep going. So my other example, you only have to practice being a good person compared with being a criminal to know that acting as a good person is better. Like if you're giving charity, if a person is giving a criminal, they're giving a person the experience of goodness, which is also a metaphysical value, as opposed to the experience of the bad result all the time. Persons give to criminals a self-evident experience of good that they wouldn't accept from that charitable person, and the charitable person themselves experience an even higher level of metaphysical good that they wouldn't be able to get if there were no criminal people. So experiences, what do you give to someone when you're helping go into helping people who are released from jail and all these kinds of things, and they do it or just helping anyone who's poor, people who don't have knowledge. That's why we created the whole, as you were saying, as one note for your that society is progressing kind of note you made, TJump, in your argument. I think one of the things you could relate to from that is also the school system, that we now have a school system for almost everyone. So anyone who's ignorant or can't afford super high, very expensive education, they can go to a free public school, and they can be less ignorant than they would be if they just went to no school. And so that itself is also a moral act. It's a moral good to get education so you can learn more about the world, because reality is a moral good. So thus the scientist holds reality as a good, just as people who have an ethical system with God or the absolute truth hold ethical moral realities as goods. because all of these objects are self-evident. Like a lot of reality is self-evident, and goodness and justice are also self-evident. You can experience them for yourself. So this kind of circles back to the previous statement that you need a non-material instrument outside of the world to prove it exists. So the instrument used, which is outside this world, to prove reality, right? Because you can't use a microscope to prove that there's reality, because the microscope is part of reality. So what we use to prove to ourselves that there is reality is our consciousness. And the consciousness, so our consciousness is it's not part of this world. You can't measure consciousness, but we know it's there. Like they have quantum physics and all that now to at least scientifically be aware of it. But you can kind of see the effects of consciousness, but you can't measure, or hold consciousness. And that's what we use to understand that we do live in a real world. By you prove to yourself by waking up from a dream. So as soon as you understand your own consciousness, basically, as you can understand that you have a consciousness, you can understand that consciousness has to have a source, because it is just an instrument. So the source, if consciousness is not material, then the source of consciousness also has to be not material. So this source is being God, or the absolute truth. Basically, in conclusion, the physical sciences are built on the foundation of reality as a self-evident truth. Self-evident truths are metaphysical. The source of metaphysical objects is the absolute truth. And I think epistemology is the best way to approach this for explaining it to people, because it's the one that most people can relate to, which I wanted to throw in there. Because like if you tried to approach it from ontology, especially if you tried to approach theism from the position of ontology, people have such different views and such unsubstantial views about the being of God. Or if you wanted to approach it from what else could you approach? Ontology, epistemology, or teleology even. People have there's so many different religions that have different purposes for what they think objective morality should do, or even atheists, what objective morality should do. So I think the best way to approach my particular point of view was epistemology, and I hope that was coherent enough. Feel free to comment or debate as you like.
That was great. Thanks, Nama.
Sorry for my really bad internet as well. We live in New Zealand. It's one of the slight downsides.
I live in New Zealand too. My internet's amazing.
Well, you have better PC, buddy.
I think it's because you live on a farm rather than New Zealand.
Hill too, down at the bottom of the hill. So anyway.
Yeah. And as for like epistemology, great choice, or ontology or teleology, my personal preference is eschatology, to approach it from there. with 2 rolls of tinfoil. Okay, we're inventing this format as we go. I think what might work here is at this point, what we can do is, if you have any questions to elucidate, like if there's any part of Nama's presentation that you don't understand, we could ask questions for that. And then we'll finish all the presentations, and then we'll come back around and, dig into those positions to see if we can challenge them or find any weaknesses. But at this point, it's just looking to make sure that you got an understanding of that position. Does anyone have any questions about Nama's presentation to make sure that you got it?
I'll probably wait for the cross-exam section.
Okay. Okay, great.
Was it coherent? Did everyone kind of understand where I was going?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Yeah, I do have some questions about it that I'm going to bring up in the cross-examination. Yeah. I also got some questions for TJump's position, and I still haven't figured out what Ram's position is yet.
Yeah, I also was cut out for the debate part a little bit, so I don't quite know who's either. So.
Me neither. So
I'm not sure if he does either yet.
No,
he's kind of formulating it on the fly.
Fair
Anyway, you're doing great as an atheist skeptic. You've nailed it. We had.
I pressed TJump hard enough to admit
that. What was it? What was the admission at the end? I said I was going to.
Hypotheses aren't proven.
No. Okay, let's go to the cross-examination after your presentation, John.
Sure. And then we'll pull that loop out later, and we'll make it into like a promo for the channel.
That's cool.
And we'll throw a stack of money on it and put it everywhere on the internet where I haven't been banned. Okay, there is no objective morality, folks, and I'm here today to prove it. The position that I'm arguing today is that there is no objective morality from a theistic perspective. And to take this position, I axiomatically accept the existence of a superconsciousness that is the source of the world of our existence and our experience itself. So I'm with Nama Maduri on this one. Now, you don't need to commit to this position to examine it. And I invite you to examine it with me hypothetically to consider its implications. So with that as an axiomatic premise, I will argue that there is no objective morality. Now, first, I want to examine what's indicated by the word morality, and then I'll demonstrate that objective morality does not exist, considering the major arguments put forward by theists. And finally, I'll make a specific argument for a subjective theistic morality based on Bhagavad Gita. So the Oxford Dictionary defines morality. This is for you, TJump, because you haven't gone past D yet. It's an M, under M in the dictionary. Morality. It's Oxford Dictionary defines it as principles concerning the distinction between right and wrong or good and bad behavior. Actually, that could be on the OnlyFans. Morality. Principles concerning the distinction between right and wrong or good and bad behavior. The Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, which I heard about from TJump, states that morality seems to be used in two distinct broad senses, a descriptive sense and a normative sense. So it's used descriptively to refer to certain codes of conduct put forward by a society or a group, such as a religion, or accepted by an individual for her own behavior. Or normatively, to refer to a code of conduct that, given specified conditions, would be put forward by all rational people. So we're talking about objective morality today. So we're talking about the normative sense of the word, that there is a single normative morality that is an accurate representation of some fundamental structure. And I got from the initial discussion between Ram and TJump, moral intuition seems to be the basis that TJump bases his on. So the first thing that I want to examine is the idea of retribution and reward. And this is a standard argument used to establish objective morality on a theistic basis. And the idea is that God will reward people for good behavior and punish them for bad behavior. So two common mechanisms for that are through eternal life in heaven for good behavior and burning in hell for eternity for doing something bad, or via reincarnation, where a person receives good and bad reactions in a subsequent life. And these are two flavors of the same thing, which is a claim of an imperceptible and unverifiable consequence. So this claim has two different faults. Firstly, you have to agree with the implicit desirability or undesirability of the positive result. That is to say that you have to accept that burning in hell is bad in order to ascribe bad to the moral value judgment. So this makes it a conditional imperative rather than a categorical one in the language of Kant. So in other words, it's a subjective morality. And we might argue that all rational people will agree with the positive value structure, that anyone who's a rational person would agree that burning in hell for eternity or being, forced to reincarnate as a cockroach and getting squashed is bad, but they might not. Many people throughout history have rebelled against this idea precisely because they feel that it takes away their free choice and is the action of a capricious entity. Or in the language of TJump, it represents like an egregious imposition of will of one entity on another. And those people would say that that morality itself is morally bad because it represents, this excessive imposition of will. Now, on the other hand, if the situation is indeed a strict action-reaction causal chain, then there's no morality in it. So if you put your hand in a fire, it'll burn. And there's no morality to that. It's just simply action and reaction. It's a fundamental fact of the universe. So moving the reaction to an experience outside of this life, either like in some kind of eternal afterlife or in some kind of subsequent reincarnation life doesn't make it fundamentally different. In the case where the reaction is moved to the afterlife and presented as something moral rather than something factual, like you put your hand in the fire and it will burn, adding good and bad to that could be seen as a mechanism to encourage people to do or not do certain actions. You know, we don't have to tell children not to put their hands into a fire, especially once we don't have to tell them not to do it once they've experienced it. We don't have to tell them that it's bad to do that. They have an as-lived experience of it, and we don't use morality to enforce that. There's nothing morally bad about it. It just sucks, and so people generally don't do it. So we don't need to invent or introduce the concept of morality for such an obvious action-reaction causal chain. Morality is a mechanism of social disapproval used to motivate people to take or not take actions whose consequences cannot be easily inferred. So a moral code is necessary only when a person cannot clearly see the action-reaction chain. So no one would disagree with the statement that you shouldn't put your hand in a fire, but they wouldn't consider that to be a moral statement, even though it contains this idea of should in it. It's a categorical imperative, and it's founded on survivability and physics. So if such a higher physics exists, like eternal life or eternal damnation or reincarnation, then morality becomes only a social or a psychological phenomenon used to motivate people to take action based on a categorical imperative with respect to these unseen consequences. So I call that the strong claim of objective theistic morality. You shouldn't do it because it's bad, and that means God says it's bad and you'll be punished for doing it. Or you should do it because it is good, and that means that God says that it's good and you'll be rewarded, or you'll at least avoid punishment if you do it. So a more limited claim is that theistic objective morality represents categorical imperatives whose consequences manifest in this lifetime, but whose causal relationships are not easily understood. So, for example, individual actions can be detrimental when they're exercised by others in a large group that you participate in. For example, stealing from others benefits me as an individual, but living in a society where everyone else steals from me is not beneficial to me. So in this view, God tells us these things like a parent gives advice to a child, like don't smoke because it's bad for your health. Now, a child might rebel against this, but the parent is not to blame for the consequences if the child does do it. The moral guidance that they provide is advice, designed to motivate them to act in a particular way to avoid the negative consequence. So any moral guidance of this nature, claiming to be from God, can be generated from game theory. It does require deeply or fully understanding the consequences of actions, but again, it's a categorical imperative, and it's linked to the fundamental nature of the world, and particularly economics. TJump is disagreeing. Go for it.
You keep saying that's a categorical imperative, but categorical is the objective kind of morality. I think you mean hypothetical imperative. It's a hypothetical imperative of, if I want to survive, I ought to do X. That's a hypothetical imperative. Categorical is being it's objectively immoral to do X.
A hypothetical imperative. Well, yeah, the reason why I say it's a categorical imperative is because I implicitly accept that every living entity wants to survive.
That's still a hypothetical. So if I want to survive, I should do X. That's a hypothetical. Categorical would mean it's independent of any type of motivation or proclivity or desire. It's just you ought not do X, period, regardless of whoever you are. So that would still be a hypothetical.
Yeah, it's the if I want to survive thing. Like I would take that out of the statement because it is there. You have no choice in that matter.
The choice isn't relevant to the categorical hypothetical distinction. So like if every person wants to survive, then they all say, I want to survive, therefore I should do X. Whether they choose to want to survive or not isn't relevant to the hypothetical categorical thing. Okay.
I'll go with hypothetical then.
Categorical, because Kant does believe in objective morality. He thinks there is a categorical imperative, which means there is an objective morality, which is why we should do something. That's why he makes the distinction. So
Okay, and I'm arguing against that. So yeah, categorical imperative is bogus. Hypothetical
Yep.
imperative is the new black. Hypothetical imperative is so hot right now. And it's linked to the fundamental nature of the world because all living entities want to survive, and particularly to the economics of survival. So in this model, theistic morality is descriptive, but it represents a set of principles based on a normative morality that's amoral. It's simply action and reaction. It's like fundamental features of the universe and survivability. Now, the issue with this is that the action and reaction consequences will differ based on various environmental factors. It can be, for example, it can be advantageous to practice deception if you're at a significant disadvantage without it. Like you might misrepresent your available military forces or your resolve to use them during negotiations in order to secure a favorable outcome. So if you want to de-relativize lying and make that into like it's morally bad to lie, to make it into like an objective moral principle that it's always true, it's objectively and always bad, it should not be done, then we need to posit some detrimental consequence for lying that's imposed by God or the universe, regardless of the efficacy of lying in that particular situation, which could be beneficial to your survival. So we're left with a further problem at this point, and that is that different theistic traditions have different moral codes. And when we look at them, we see that those moral codes reflect the time, the place, and the circumstances where they arise, particularly with respect to the social structure that sits on top of and arises from the economic structure of the society. And the economic structure of a society in turn arises from the technological capability of the society, which determines how food is produced and distributed and how power is concentrated in the society. And I would point to, as Nama was saying in her presentation, the development of technological prowess of our current civilization as the causative factor in what TJump pointed to, which is, we've got gay rights, we've got, rights for women, this increasing rights is an emergent factor from our technological advance, which changes our economy, which then changes our society, which then gives rise to this subjective morality that arises from those. So you have nomadic societies where people don't inherit land. And in those societies, sexual morality differs from agrarian societies where inheritance and thus genetic relationship matters. So their sexual morality arises from their relationship to the means of production, to quote Karl Marx. So this again seems to indicate that I didn't know I'd get so much mileage out of a Karl Marx reference.
Oh, it's just funny hearing you quote Karl Marx.
My homeboy. So this again seems to indicate that what's claimed as theistic objective morality is in fact a mechanism for enforcing game theory derivable economics by amplifying the perceived costs and rewards to ensure or at least encourage compliance. So the implication is twofold. It's a narrative about the consequences, but as a morality for the society, like an accepted normative morality for people, whether you personally believe the hype about the afterlife or not, it manifests as a very real cost benefit in the present moment through social approval and disapproval. Or in societies that have a formal legal system, if the morality informs the legal system, as it often does, through legal repercussions. So morality itself then becomes a factor in the game theory, and it becomes possible for actors to manipulate people by creating moral codes that skew the game in their favor. And it's difficult for an individual to detect when this is being done, since God doesn't speak to everyone individually, and different people who claim to hear from God make different claims, and they generate different scriptures. And for this reason, many people reject a morality that claims to come from God, and thus it cannot be normative in the sense of a code of conduct that, given specified conditions, would be put forward by all rational people. So I want to introduce another idea about what should or shouldn't be done, morality from a theistic perspective, which we might term a spiritual perspective, and this is the subjective theistic morality. So subjective theistic morality includes...
Oh my God.
What? Too much?
How long does it keep going on? Like, oh my God. So
I'm about 10% of the way through.
Oh
So
my.
just to clarify, is your position is that morality is subjective and it's a hypothetical imperative because God says so, and we should do it because of the reward and punishment, right?
I'm saying that that's what theists would say. Those are the
that's
general
a-
theistic kind of
That's
position.
a subjective theist morality that you're proposing is that, right?
No, that's not what it is. That's the objective theistic morality. So the claim there is that the objective basis of morality for a theist is exactly that there's some kind of punishment or reward or consequence that comes after this life that gives it that enables you to basically say this is always wrong because it always leads to bad consequences. Why? Because God will burn you in hell.
So I would consider that to be a subjective morality. Why? What is the one you're proposing? What is it, your model that makes it? What is your grounds for a subjective morality?
Well, I say that that's objective theistic morality.
What is your grounds? What morality are you arguing for? Why is something moral in your view?
So what makes something moral in my view is
Like in this debate where you're being a theistic subjectivist, you're
yeah.
saying that morality is purely subjective, which means it's only
Yes.
moral because it has good consequences, right? Is that not?
Not because it has good well, yes. And what I define as good consequences is that it increases the opportunity for an individual to access awareness and experience of a higher level reality and the superconscious source of reality. That is what is good.
Okay, so there is a subjective morality, and the subjective morality is we should do things that maximize this property you just said, whatever that means. And that makes it subjectively moral, but it's not objective in that case. So because it's a hypothetical imperative, so it's only a subjective morality. We should do this because it has good consequences. And if there was a different action that would have good consequences, we should do the different action.
Well, it's objective in the sense that that is a measurable objective phenomenon. As you pointed to, yours is grounded in less imposition of will, and it's guided by moral intuition.
I thought you were supposed to be arguing for subjective morality, but there isn't an objective
So
morality.
Yeah, so I'm arguing for, I would say, a subjective descriptive morality in that there is no absolute moral codes, because mostly theistic moral codes consist of like the 10 commandments: thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not steal, that kind of approach. And that one is usually grounded on God will punish you if you do these things, therefore they are bad.
So you're saying that there's no absolute morality where there's this one principle that you can't violate. Essentially, it's relative to whether or not it can achieve this end.
Yes.
Still an objective morality, but I think you're arguing for a relative versus absolute morality distinction, different distinction.
Okay. Relative morality.
Relative versus absolute should be the
rather than objective versus
subjective. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, today's debate is about absolute versus relative morality. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Yeah. Okay, so I'm actually arguing for a relative subjective morality, just relative morality.
Relative objective. So it's objective, but the principles themselves.
Okay, so it's a trisectional debate.
That works.
We need 6 interlocutors.
All right. Well, so I think I got your position down. I understand it now. I'm ready to move into the cross exam.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions about that?
Not yet.
Okay, cross-examination. Let's do it. So, your name was Nama something?
Nama.
No.
Nama.
Nama.
Yes. Yeah.
Nama,
I might ask you to repeat it because the internet's playing up again, but go ahead.
Sure. So you said that our evidence for reality is that we wake up from a dream, and that's how we know that reality is really there?
Yep.
Couldn't we just still be in a dream even when we're awake? Yeah. So we're in a dream, and so we could wake up again. We just haven't realized it yet.
Sorry, say it again.
So when we wake up from a dream, like right now, when we're talking on this stream, we could still be dreaming. We're in another dream world. We just haven't realized it yet. And we could just wake up again and realize that, oh, this isn't really objective reality. We're just dreaming. That's still a possibility, right?
Well, there's not really. No, I don't think that's the case, because obviously, because of the fact that we put so much effort and spend so much time into, and we experience for ourselves, because we're not all, pulling an Inception and drugging ourselves with whatever to stay asleep, to do stuff in our subconscious kind of dream state more. No, this is definitely more real as a reality. So yeah, you could say that there is a real world, and that's actually a big principle of theism, is that we do live in a bidimensional world, and you're actually proving my point. Thank you, because yes, in a bidimensional world of that there's a spiritual there's a metaphysical realm with metaphysical principles, and that those principles have a metaphysical source, and they're a part of reality of the world. But the material reality, we experience material reality when we. So that's not to say that material reality is all of reality encompassed into. It's just an aspect of reality. So I think that point of view, yes, you are right, but I don't think yes.
So that would mean that our experience. So that would mean our experience of reality isn't evidence of. It's not self-evident that we're in reality.
You could. This world, we don't know there's another world, but that's what I would say. The other world, the metaphysical reality.
But wasn't that your evidence
we can't
for
see it or touch it? So that no material that we're a part of it.
Wasn't that your evidence for morality? Is that it's self-evident? Like if it's self-evident that we're in reality when we wake up, that's evidence we're in reality. But since we could not be in reality, that means it's really not evidence. It's not, because it could be wrong. So the self-evident thing doesn't seem to really give us evidence of that metaphysical nature, because there could be something even more out there that we haven't discovered yet. So our self-evident waking up isn't really evidence that this is the fundamental nature of reality, just like our self-evident view of morality isn't evidence of a God, right?
Could you start that again? Sorry, my internet's really bad.
Yeah, so when we wake up from a dream, it is self-evident to us that this is more real, that it's reality. But that's not evidence it is reality, because there could be another more real thing beyond that, and another more real thing beyond that, and another more real thing beyond that. So the self-evident nature isn't evidence.
Well, keep proving it to me. Yeah, well, you could say, well, keep proving it to me, but then you get to the circuitous reasoning thing, where you have to take a stand. And everyone in the world does this. They all take a stand and say, no, this is reality, and the scientists care enough that this is reality to go out and, discover as they can about it, and prove things and dedicate their lives to it. And so I'd say that you could say that, but I'm going to take a stand and say, no, this is materially as real a world as I'm going to experience. There might be more planes of it, but I'm going to experience them. Most likely you won't either. If you do, please let me know. I'd be fascinated.
Hardcore materialist in the house.
Can experience the one.
Right. So scientists usually take that approach, and I'm with them. It's not just because of dogmatism. We actually have good reasons to conclude we're not in the matrix, which is called fallibilism in philosophy. But that means that we should say there's nothing out beyond that. If there's no reason to believe there's this second metaphysical realm with this God thing, if we apparently experience this as reality, then it's reasonable to conclude that this is all of reality. No reason to go further than that.
Nah, bogus.
Thank you.
No, I had the same question actually, but it sounds like you're more of a materialist than TJump is. But this was my query about that same point. You said that we accept this world as real and seek to increase knowledge and understanding of this world proves that that we care and that scientists care. But it does. Is it distinguishable from
is an objective good? So yeah, if you believe in
but couldn't
technology, then you believe in objective morality because you're participating in it.
I didn't understood that either. Like, I don't understand how believing there is a reality is a good. Like I could believe we're in the Matrix and still do science. I could just believe that it's fun. I don't care if it's real or not.
That's me.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think there's any goodness there. Like I could believe that it's bad and still do it just because I think it's entertaining. Like I can do bad things that I think are fun. So there's not any goodness to believing there's an objective reality. You don't even need to believe there's an objective reality to do science. You can believe we're in the Matrix and still do science.
Well, you believe in society to really want to do science because a lot of the point of science is that it makes everyone's lives better, and therefore we can have this progressive objective moralities getting better because we have gay rights and women's rights and all this stuff as it's getting better. And that's, as you said, because of the technology which improves the agriculture. Objective morality is a good because for
I'm going to be cynical.
Wow.
It doesn't prove you care. It proves that you have no other option.
No, not necessarily. So, for example, there are philosophers who are solipsists, very few, who believe that their mind is the only thing that exists and they're in a video game. And so they just do it because it's fun. They don't believe in society at all. They don't believe in other people. Just like many people invest millions of hours playing World of Warcraft. They don't actually believe there is a society of orcs and a society of mages. They just find it fun. So you don't actually need to have any of those beliefs to do science. You just need to like doing science. It doesn't need to be good.
Yeah,
you can do science because you want to build.
Sorry.
You could do science like a. Okay, so
no, I mean
there are people who
really
spend
do
millions of
science,
hours
like,
playing.
Really be a science.
Yes, so there are millions of
World of Warcraft
people. There are people who
actually-
spend millions of.
I mean, like, yeah. As people, we as the whole society, we appreciate and we uplift and basically idolize a lot of today, especially we idolize a lot of the scientists and people who come up with all this technology. So which means that we believe that improves our lives and that it's making our lives better. It's making our lives easier. And the scientists are, even if we don't ourselves believe in that good, it's still there because the science. It's at least there with the science. They're willing to put out. They're willing to take the risk to do science because experienced reality, as that it's better than just dosing ourselves with some kind of drug to be asleep and try and do in the dream world.
But different scientists, they have different motivations for what they do, not only to improve the world. They can have whatever motivation they want, money,
Bill Gates.
whatever. Not necessarily. Bill Gates, exactly.
Not a scientist.
That's true. There are a lot of individual motivations for people doing science. I'm saying that the
Dr. Evil
general put that.
No, but that's like the.
It's like there's lots of different reasons that people go into religion. You could go into religion for a multitude of different reasons that have nothing to do with God for the most part, a relationship with God. So people go into things, individual reasoning on their own individual, psychology and mentality and goals and whatnot. But as a principle, science is based off of reality and that knowing about and that science is about the material aspect of the world is better for everyone. At least that's
where does it say that anywhere
in
science?
Funding, would they?
Yeah. But that's
where does it say that in science? Like science doesn't care if it's good or bad. The reason governments care if it's good or bad, that's why they get funding. But science doesn't care if things are good or bad. Science is just a description of reality. The reason they get funding is because governments care. Yeah. Science is amoral. Science doesn't care. There's nowhere in science are you going to find the principle of the good that it's good to do science. Like science doesn't care one way or the other. It's completely amoral.
Governments don't care either.
Science cares about
governments do care.
That's what.
No, they don't. They're maximizing something other than moral good.
And the fact that it has to work in the material world.
Well, no,
Sorry,
governments fund things. Governments fund spiritual stuff too. The American government funded psychic power research because all they cared about was could they gain an edge over the Russians. They don't care about the material world either. All they care about is what works. So again, science has nothing to do with whether there's an objective reality. Even if we were in the Matrix, the government would still pay scientists to try and discover ways to gain an advantage over the Russians. We don't care if we're an objective reality or not. Science doesn't care if we're an objective reality or not. All that matters is, can we describe the patterns in the reality we experience, regardless of what it is. So the objective reality isn't really a part of the science there.
Lots of scientists are trying to figure out if we're in a simulation, though. So they do seem to care.
Well, yeah, many of them do, but that's not, science doesn't care, not scientists. Science doesn't care.
Yep, I can
Sorry, could you
concede
say
that.
that last sentence one more time?
I have a couple.
It doesn't matter to science whether or not this is objective reality. If this was the Matrix, if it was completely fake, science and scientists would be equally as interested in doing science, because it's not about describing reality itself. It's about describing the interactions we have control over, regardless of what makes those, regardless if it's in the Matrix or a brain in the vat or the real world, makes no difference. Science doesn't care one way or the other. So there's no connection between science and objective reality being a good. Science doesn't care. There's no good principle that you're going to discover in science that science cares about it being a good thing.
First of all, yeah, we're not in the Matrix, which I point out, and I don't know anyone who is.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
In the world.
That needs to be a debate.
we're
Are
not
we in
very
the Matrix? I'm for it.
And also,
Have you heard of Nick Bostrom?
of where?
Nick Bostrom. He's Nick Bostrom's
No.
one of the guys who
Oh, I
promotes
haven't.
that we are actually in a Matrix. So there is actually lots of scientists that do say we are in a simulation, that it's more likely that we are in a simulation. So that is actually a
100%.
real hypothesis.
I think the word is pronounced true.
Anyway, can I ask a couple of questions?
Well, that's one. You get one more.
Okay.
Burn.
Okay. Anyway, so TJump, can I address you about your model of
And he
morality?
Nope,
blew his
second
last
question, we're
question. Well, how could you do that? You blew your second question on that. Okay, we'll give you a bonus question.
Okay, so I just want to understand your model a little
I'm
bit
lost.
better.
Where are we?
So
We're
We're
on the
discussing
internet.
TJump's
It's a
model.
channel called Theology Unleashed, where Western skepticism meets Eastern philosophy and gets crushed.
We're in the Matrix. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, Matrix.
okay,
right.
so according
Anyway.
to you, anything poses on another person's will is immoral.
Yes,
That's your
without consent.
okay. Without consent. Okay. Say for example, a guy is walking on the street and a piano is about to fall on his head, and I drag him, I push him or whatever, and then he avoids the piano. For example, that's a bit of a radical example, but what I did, was it immoral?
It was pragmatic, so that means it was subjectively moral, objectively immoral.
And I know this one.
Okay.
The solution is to turn him into a ghost. Boom! Battle Jew.
Oh yeah.
What up?
I remember that one. Yeah. Okay. I just okay. That's your model. Okay. Another thing, having any sort of rules, you can't stand in this area. You can't spit on the grass. Is that immoral, or is that
Yes, if
amoral?
you didn't consent to them.
Super libertarian. Love it.
Okay. Okay. So that
Ron
would
Paul,
be
what up?
Okay. And I would like to go back a bit on the basis of the foundation of your model, okay? So for the sake of the argument, you say you have this hypothesis, right? And for the sake of the argument, could you explain to me what your reasoning behind the hypothesis is? Why do you believe that there is objective morality?
I believe it's a hypothesis, so I don't believe it's proven. I believe it's a
Okay,
hypothesis.
yes, I understand. But can you tell me your reasoning?
Yes, we have a
Why did you
phenomenon.
come up with that
There's this
hypothesis?
phenomenon called moral intuition and moral progress, and there's many different explanations of them.
that-
I have an explanation, and I like this one the best.
Okay.
I
do you
have
think
a question
moral
about that.
intuition
I have a
is
question.
Subjective or objective?
Moral intuition is a phenomenon, and it is an objective phenomenon.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so I have a question.
And upon,
I actually
okay.
I have two.
Okay, good.
So The first one's kind of related to what Ram was saying about the piano, right? So in your model TJump, less imposition of will is good. Now, what about doing is gooder, yeah. What about doing things to help people? So that's not less imposition of will, but our moral intuition is that this is good.
Yeah, so imposition of will is only describing immorality. Morality would be assisting will voluntarily. So there's also that too.
Wow. Now T-Jump's bounced out.
Wow.
Internet blackout in the United States. Big if true.
Looks like. And on
That was a pretty short internet blackout.
Well, that just happened to you guys. It didn't happen to me. So it was like essentially your whole half of the world. It actually gave me a sign that said all the people in your chat got lost connection other than you. That was pretty funny.
Really? Because Ram and I were still here.
Yeah.
Or maybe. So yeah. So
we're still on the channel.
It was a cover-up.
So morality only said the immorality is any involuntary imposition of will. Morality is any voluntary assistance of will. So if you would like a cheeseburger, I gave you a cheeseburger, that would be moral.
That's okay. What if I like cyanide? That would be moral to give me cyanide?
Yes, it'd be moral for everyone.
Okay.
So I have another question.
Okay. Can I just? Okay, go ahead, Josh.
Okay, so you say it's a hypothesis, T-Jump. Craftily, guising yourself, your unfounded speculations as in a scientific language. Here's my question about that. How would you design an experiment to falsify your hypothesis, or is your hypothesis unfalsifiable and thus non-scientific?
Yes, you make testable predictions. You can say if we discover any other alien species that has a sufficient amount of technology and resources, they would also follow the same pattern. We can also say that in the future, humans will evolve the ability to perceive rocks as falling on people as immoral, or like the piano example that he mentioned. We will in the future see those things as immoral. That would be evidence of my model. There's lots of different ways to predict the future consequences if my model is correct. And if those are not the future consequences, then my model is incorrect.
Okay, I like the aliens one. The one about the rocks falling on people is immoral. I think that one's already been done, right? That's people cursing the gods for unjustly punishing them. The wider bad things happen to people.
No. So I'm specifically saying a rock that randomly falls on someone, we are going to see that as immoral. That's a very novel prediction because most moral models say that for something to be moral, there has to be agency behind it. And so the prediction I'm making is we will eventually see things that have no agency behind them as being moral.
Okay, that's a hot take, but okay. So can I ask you?
That's why it's a prediction.
About the moral intuition once again. So what if you have a certain moral intuition, right? You believe that, okay, what's the combination? You believe that, I don't know, abortion is okay, is fine. And someone else, they have a moral intuition as well. And they believe that abortion is bad. So how can you put the two moral intuitions together? Are they subjective, or is one of them objective, which is yours?
It's really easy. Like, that's such a dumb question. Like, people see different illusions.
It's not a dumb
and
question.
That doesn't. It's a dumb question. It's a really dumb question. People see different things from different perspectives. That doesn't mean that what they're seeing isn't there. It's dumb. So clearly,
I'd like to point out that there are no dumb questions, only dumb people.
There are both. There are both.
I don't know if you should thank me for that, Ram. That could have been a backhanded compliment.
Yeah, obviously.
So yeah, like the fact that if one person sees a mirage and the other person sees an ocean, or if one person sees an object that's green and one person sees an object that's red, well, is there no object there? Well, no. They just have different perceptions based off of their eyes. You can have a subjective different interpretation of a phenomenon that objectively exists. The fact that there are different subjective interpretations of an objective phenomenon does not mean the objective phenomenon doesn't exist. It makes no sense.
Someone had this to contribute.
Intuition isn't meant to be reliable. It's the basis of the hypothesis. It isn't the confirmation of the hypothesis.
But you have given me nothing on proving that objective. an objective phenomenon of morality exists, that something is precisely good or bad.
Which is actually what this
Which-
person's saying. That they're not saying that they're reliable. They're saying that they're real-iable.
That's funny.
No, but look, your argument is basically faith-based, right? You believe
No,
that
you
there
don't
is-
understand it.
Yes.
Again, so
No,
there's a
no,
hypothesis.
it is similar to
No,
that.
so this is my position.
When
If I tell you
criticize
don't understand it, then
religions,
you don't
okay,
understand
go-
it. So because I
go
do
ahead, go
understand
ahead,
it, you
go-
don't understand it.
Go.
So
Go
this is
say.
pretty simple. There is a hypothesis. Saying that there is a hypothesis of an explanation isn't a faith claim. It's not a faith claim to say, well, there could be a multiverse. That's not a faith claim. It's a possibility. It's how hypothesis works. It would only be a faith claim if I said there is a multiverse. And we know there should definitely be a multiverse,
There
even
is.
if you have no evidence.
That's
I've never
what you
claimed
said.
that.
You said that if one
No, I
person sees
didn't.
it
You're
red and the
dumb.
other sees
No,
it
no.
green,
I
you're
said it's a
saying that there is
hypothesis.
red.
Wrong. Shut
But
up.
you're
Shut up. There is a hypothesis is not the same as theory. You are strongmanning my position saying I'm saying there's a theory. There
Okay.
isn't a theory. It's not a theory. It's a hypothesis, which
Okay.
means it isn't reasonable
Okay.
to believe it exists based off of proof because there isn't proof. It's just a hypothesis. Like the multiverse is a hypothesis. It's not reasonable to believe it exists yet because we haven't proven it yet. It's a hypothesis. That's literally what the word
do you
hypothesis
think
means.
it can be proven? Do you think it can be proven?
Yes, in the future, not today. If it could be today, then I would have a Nobel
Why
Prize.
in the future?
That was my
Because of the
question.
testable predictions that I just answered from Josh.
The aliens. So
The aliens.
that's
Okay,
probably
so
going to
the
be
aliens
in
were-
about 150 days when the disclosure happens.
Yeah,
It's actually it's
when
100,
the lizard people, when
149.
lizard people come down.
Okay. So what I got from your argument is that you have a hypothesis that objective morality exists. Okay, but you cannot.
That's what hypothesis
is-
means. So
Okay,
that you already said that.
So if I have a hypothesis that God exists, for example, or if leprechauns exist.
Yes, those are perfectly reasonable. You can have a hypothesis of whatever you want.
Okay, so you're saying it's reasonable to believe these things.
No, it's a hypothesis.
To
So
have
it's
a
reasonable to have a hypothesis. And then if you want to say the hypothesis is true, you need to have evidence to support the hypothesis.
Okay, so but you don't have any evidence to support it. So it's just
That's why it's a
right?
hypothesis.
So you have given me nothing, basically. You just made a claim. You said, okay, I think it exists, therefore it exists. Therefore it may exist. I don't
No,
have
that's not
any
how
evidence to
hypothesis
back it up.
works.
Okay.
So no,
this
saying
is
it
what
exists is a theory. So a theory would be a
Okay,
confirmed hypothesis.
yes.
Then you can say it
What,
exists.
what you're saying, you have said that, okay, this is my hypothesis. It may exist. That's it. This is
Yes, that's how hypotheses work.
Okay. That's fine.
With questions. Let me see. I had some more. This one is really for Nama, if you can still hear at the moment and speak. You still with us, Nama Maduria? Maybe muted. It says on air.
Maybe you could bring the question up and
Oh yeah, well,
Type it out.
it was kind of like where TJump started from, that we accept this world as real and seek to increase knowledge and understanding of this world proves that you care. To me, that's indistinguishable from just proving that you have no other option. Like, it would be evidence that you cared if you had like two different options that you could take and you chose that one. And then you could say that choice was motivated by care. But if there's no choice, like basically your choice is to be a solipsist and a nihilist, like the world's unreal, it doesn't exist, or to be a scientist. So it's kind of like if you're presented with like something that you might say is a bad choice or something else, if you choose something else, it doesn't necessarily mean you're into something else. It just means you're not into the alternative.
I don't understand what you're saying.
I have no idea as well. And where did you even get the question?
I don't know.
It's
To make things a little bit more interesting, because it's kind of like a little bit too organized and everything here, I'm just randomly bringing in this caller from the internet. Karan, you're live on air with the panelists here in the debate.
you should
Can you
actually
hear
have
us?
like a call-in number that people can call in. That would work out. That works pretty well to get lots of people involved.
I pretty much ghetto did that with a link in the chat. We can't hear anything, Karan. You're gonna have to fix your microphone or something. Turn your camera on. Mystery caller.
And he's gone.
And bounced. Maybe he'll come back. Okay, so what I was saying there is like, no, it sounded to me like Nama's argument was that because scientists accept this world as real, that's evidence that they care. I'm just saying that could be evidence that they have no choice.
I would disagree. I would disagree with that.
Oh, this guy's internet connection is terrible. Your internet connection is unstable. You're the weakest link.
Goodbye.
Exactly. I'm not sure what's happening with Nama's one. Like, I can't hear anything. It says that she's in here, but yeah.
Yeah.
You send her a message on like Facebook or Twitter or whatever.
Those platforms that ban people who
yes, I forgot
who believe that we live in the Matrix. I'm telling you, man, it must be true. If you get banned for it, it's like it's a heuristic. It's basically peer review, right?
Yep. Your peers are Twitter and Facebook and Jeff Bezos. They're the ones
fact checkers.
Josh.
Yeah, exactly. You know, interestingly enough, there is one acharya in Krishna consciousness called Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he says that all of these descriptions in the scriptures of like heavenly planets and hellish planets where people get punished after life are actually made up in order to motivate people, like strategically, to take morally good actions. Because mostly people are, you know, what we call immoral actions like imposition of will is people attempting to game the system for their own, you know, survival or, you know, economic benefit. Nama's in. Karan, can we hear you this time?
Karan, yes, hello, hiya.
Karan, hello.
Nope.
Oh, he got to say his name and hello.
Tell him to like type his question or something in the chat.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's it.
Yeah, you'll need to type your question. And if there's anyone else who's watching who has a stable internet connection and would like to call in, just shout out in the chat. Type your question in the chat. Yeah, because, you know, this idea of the imposition of will on others, I mean, that's actually like a good thing for survival fitness, right? So it would seem that morality and evolution, because deception is an evolutionary strategy, am I right?
Well, deception is very good for survival. So imposition of will is actually beneficial for survival. Not having imposition on will is actually very bad for survival.
Exactly. Because other people will impose their will on you.
It's bad for yourself. It's bad.
No. So like if you adhered to my morality, you would probably lose evolutionarily. So evolution goes against my model.
So you're saying that your morality is for losers?
Yep. Nerds and Jainists and hippies and people who don't want to be
that makes a lot of sense, actually.
That's a hot take. That's a hot take.
So being moral isn't evolutionary advantageous. It's evolutionary advantageous to kill and take and steal and to conquer. Those are the things that benefit evolution. What?
Triumph of the Will. It's that propaganda film by Lenny Stahl or whatever her name is.
So yeah.
Okay, so you're saying that your morality is evolutionarily unfit, but since evolution is an objective reality, how could there be a morality that exists in the world that isn't derived from evolutionary fitness? Where's the grounding for it?
It exists as a law independent of us. So there's like the law of gravity exists independent of evolution because it was before evolution, right? So same thing.
There's no reason behind this. You're just throwing. It's the same.
It's a hypothesis. Hypotheses have justification. So I've explained this to you enough times. Like you don't understand it.
Okay, I'm just looking at the title of the video, and it says, "Can there be objective morality on atheism?"
Hang on, can Can you defend that claim, Ram? Because you said
he just
there
admitted
is-
I was right. He just said yes, there can be. So yes, there can be. Oh my God, which is the whole point of the
One
debate.
second.
Yes.
1 second. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
But
There
those,
can
those
be-
are the two pull
there could-
quotes from this one.
Yes, and you can loop that, but there could be, leprechauns dancing in the room right now. That's the same
Yes, there
reason
could
that you
be.
use, there could be. Yes. Can you admit to that?
Yes, hypotheses, that's what they mean, is it can be. It is
But
possible
you have
to do
given
this.
me, okay, that's fine, but for the sake of the discussion, you have given me nothing to support that. You say, okay, maybe in 150 years when aliens come out, via the testable predictions, maybe we could say that there is an
No,
objective
you're
morality,
confusing can be and is be. Have I shown that it is the case that there is objective morality? No, it's a hypothesis. The only
No,
thing
you
I'm
haven't.
supporting is can it be the case? And it's yes, it can be the case. Here is how it can be the case. Have I proven it is the case? Obviously not. That's why it's a hypothesis.
Yeah, I mean, hello, sorry. Can you hear me? Hello.
But
Oh, Karan, you made it.
hello.
Hello, yeah.
I don't think he made it.
I did actually. This time I figured out. I'm here first time.
Thank you. First time call. Congratulations.
Yeah, I made it. Yes.
Not only is it your first time, Karan, but it is the first time in the history of the internet that we've taken a live caller from the audience here on Theology Unleashed. We're breaking all the boundaries of the format today.
Oh, cheers. Thank you. I really appreciate for that. Thank you very much. I really. As you you guys have a topic about morality today, or isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yes.
Yes. I can read. That's great. Just to give you a brief background, I come from Indian origin, and where most of the East and West ideas got mixed up. If you give me a chance, so I can explain a bit. In Western ideas, where it's come in Abrahamic religions and beliefs and everything, they have in them is the element of God in there. If you start with Abraham and then Jesus and then Quran,
Muhammad.
I don't know Muhammad, or you agree to or not, it's up to you. But in our Eastern ideas, there is no input of God. All the content, all the material, all the philosophy is written by, we call them rishis, or you can gurus. So there is never for example, we do yoga, right? And yoga is written by Rishi Patanjali, the guy who wrote yoga. His name is Patanjali. So we never claim Patanjali had a dream in night, God came into a dream and said, okay, tomorrow morning you're going to do yoga. So that's a bit of it's a thin line, but it's very important to understand our ideas. I hope I'm able to explain a bit, or is there any?
Well, I could. Can I add something to that?
Yes, please.
Well, that's only you're talking about yoga, but one of the the Vedas, for example, we take the Bhagavad Gita, right?
Yeah.
And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks directly to this is where
Yes.
this is where the foundation of our beliefs come from. This is the
That's true.
parampara, disciplic succession. So Krishna says something, and we take it as the word of God, and then people along the parampara. So and then Krishna says, and the Bhagavad says that he's the source of morality.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where we base our morality on the word of Krishna, the word of God.
Absolutely right. I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
I thought you
My name
were
is
an atheist,
Ram.
Ram.
I said a disclaimer in the beginning of the video
Okay.
that I'm a theist, but for the sake of the argument, I will be presenting the point of view of atheists.
I have a question for you, Karan. You said that
Yes,
Patanjali didn't get it in a dream, or God didn't tell it to him. So where did he get it from?
From his experience, from his knowledge.
Okay.
And let me answer this guy. I don't know his name.
Ram.
Sorry.
My name is Ram.
Ram. Right. I agree to you. Bhagavad Gita is there, but Bhagavad Gita is part of Mahabharata, and Mahabharata is written by Rishi Vedvyas. And Vedvyas, nowhere he mentioned I had a dream of God to write a book. So it's end of the day, it's a creation of Rishi Vedvyas. And yes, it's an imagination of a God from the Rishi. But Ved Vyasji never said anywhere, I had a dream, write a Bhagavad
Okay,
Gita.
one second. Veda Vyas, he is considered, if you read the Srimad Bhagavatam, he's considered an empowered incarnation of Lord Krishna, and he was advised by Narada Muni. Is that correct? So
Yes,
this, because he's an empowered incarnation of Lord Sri Krishna, he has the authority to give the knowledge.
yes,
He doesn't have...
and like you, if you give me a chance a bit, I'll explain you in a better way.
Well, how about we do this? Can we tie this back into your point about morality, Karan? We could probably let's jump over the last 5,000 years of history to 17th of January 2021. And what would you like to contribute to this debate about objective morality today?
Objective morality, we all born with a morality. We all born with the principles. For example,
a moral intuition, we could say.
No,
we could say
if
that.
I just let me finish, please.
Yeah.
Let's say before Europeans arrived to America, right? Yeah, you're with me. Let's say there's no Europeans in America. The native of Americans, they knew everything. They know how to speak, communicate, live in a family, how to train animals, food, and everything. They knew everything without any book. So how come they got their morality?
TJump, you're from America?
They never had any.
What?
He was.
Evolution. Evolution is how they got access to it.
I was actually thinking that's like an alien invasion, right? Europeans arrive in America. It's here come these other human beings.
Illegal aliens.
No. Right, the morality, we all born with it. There's no, we don't need a book for that.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need a book, like, to tell us, like, what to do, especially by God.
Okay.
Definitely not that one.
We don't need a book, but it is the nature of the soul to have these qualities.
But hang on, what's Karan's actual point? What's your actual point? Okay, we got that.
Yeah, my point is, we all human beings, those are living on the planet. We have developed our morality depending on our experiences.
But it is
okay. That's hang on a second, Ram. So that is your complete point. That's what you're saying. That human beings around the planet have a moral intuition.
Yeah, we all have developed with our experiences.
Yeah. Okay, I got it. Thank you.
And let me just put one more thing. If you see what is the difference between us and animals, like, do you think there's any difference between us and animals?
Well, I can see something actually. As you're saying here, human beings are born with this kind of innate moral understanding, and it causes them to act in ways which are detrimental to their own survival. So it seems to be something that's not like driven by evolution. Whereas animals just act according to fitness.
Well, depending, like, how they, every act they do, if you see most of the yoga postures come from, it's inspired by animals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, right. The basic difference between we and animals are, we are aware of who our parents and kids and grandparents and a family. Animals are not.
Not always.
Well, like, they don't come for Christmas, isn't it?
That's true.
No.
That is true.
Yeah.
That's evidence right there.
So they basically, animals, that's one of the main difference. And now everybody talk about evolution, about humans, like body and everything. Nobody talk about sound, where we learn the sounds, how we learn to speak.
You could always also attribute that to evolution.
Well, no, we can't learn to speak without other people. We need other people to learn to speak.
Yeah, obviously. But,
how it started. Guys, I'm sorry. I'm taking debate into next point. That's my whole idea. Is like, evolution. Morality. We all born with it. We don't need any special book for that. And I don't think people were living before the books arrived to the planet.
Yeah.
Okay. But my rebuttal would be is that the nature of the soul innately is goodness. The soul is in goodness, but because we're influenced and conditioned by the material existence, that is why we can make immoral choices. But naturally, the soul is good.
I don't know if that's a rebuttal. That's kind of more like you're explaining. It's like a causal explanation.
I don't understand what you meant by soul. What is soul?
Atma.
Atma, Chetna, I understand that. But Chetna have no experience. Experience. I beg your pardon. Chetna doesn't have any contribution towards life. It's a useless thing.
You could argue that the cause of people having consciousness is the soul, because currently we can't exactly explain how consciousness works. Absolutely.
I can explain you in
So
a second.
you could say that. But look, this is a separate argument. That,
I think this is like a second debate.
It is
Yeah,
completely
it's a
different.
second.
But thank you for
Oh.
calling in with that contribution, Karan.
Thank you for having me. Well,
Yeah.
and if you guys gonna go live, so please let me. I'm gonna subscribe your channel.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
do that
subscribe to the-
and tune in for the next one.
Is there any you go every any content into that, or just randomly jump or something?
It's pretty much every week or every couple of weeks there's something on the channel.
All right, thank you. Thanks
And
for having me, guys.
TJump has a channel as well that you can find. We'll put a link in the chat. Awesome, thanks, mate.
Even I also run myself a channel.
Okay, put a link in the chat for us. Thanks.
Yes,
Have a
thank
great
you.
day.
You too, bro. Thank you.
Bye. You know what? I'm actually kind of coming around to your perspective, TJump. There is no
You're
God.
welcome.
No. This grounding for morality.
Cool.
But on what basis?
Oh,
On
was there a
evolution?
question that was like on the screen that we were supposed to answer by
Oh yeah.
Koispi? Kaioispi.
Sayospi.
I think it's for you guys, because from my perspective, yes, if morality is objective, that means it applies to all beings, including God. So it would have to be independent of God.
Yeah. I think the only place where we might differ on this is the grounding of it, like the less imposition of will. It's like it's kind of a
Well, that's not the grounding. That's a description of the principle.
okay.
So that's like saying there is a ground of morality. It is a thing. It's an object that exists, a law of nature. And to describe how it works, we would use this principle. Like saying stuff falls describes gravity. Stuff falls is not the grounds of gravity. It's just a description of what it does. So involuntary imposition of will is a description of what the thing does. It's not the grounds of it. It's a principle to describe it.
So, okay, we don't know what gravity is, so it's difficult to make an analogy there.
Curvature of space-time. We do know what gravity is.
Okay, so what is this less imposition of will then?
It is the principle. It's the particle of the thing, the higher order emergent property of morality. So like there's higher order emergent property of space-time. There's a higher order emergent property of morality. If we discovered it, then I would have already have won a Nobel Prize. So we haven't discovered it yet, obviously.
Okay, so you're saying you don't know what it is?
Yep.
At this point. Okay, well, I can tell you it's the soul.
It is the soul.
The atheist agrees with me.
Souls don't exist, but okay.
Well, here's the thing about that is that you admit that there is some unknown variable in your system that gives rise to this emergent property, right?
Might as well just call it a soul.
Yeah, exactly.
Soul is a specific thing, so it's like a human being has a soul.
Same thing with that property. With that property.
No, that's a non-specific thing. That's a property, not a specific thing.
Here's a question from Cody. I think this one's for you, TJump.
What is it? Is consciousness objective? Yes, consciousness is objective. Does it make it innate? I don't know what that means. Like objective just means it exists independent of imagination. Innate
consciousness is objective.
So it's an objective thing that exists. Or does he mean that is consciousness fundamental to reality? In which I would say no. I don't think idealism is true.
It definitely exists. In which case, it has to be fundamental to reality, no? Because there's
like saying idealism says that consciousness is the fundamental thing of all reality. Consciousness is what reality is made of. And so if that's what you mean by fundamental, then no. But consciousness is an object that exists, like chairs or stars. They're also objective, but they're not fundamental. And so I think that's what he means when he says innate, because if he thinks consciousness is innate, I think he would mean that there's like some layer of consciousness in reality and we just tap into that layer. Because consciousness isn't innate. Consciousness is an emergent property like stars that comes about through physical processes.
Well, that's a controversy in science at the moment.
No, it's not.
What?
like 90-something% of neurologists, psychologists, cognitive scientists all agree on that. There's no controversy there.
No, there is a controversy there.
There's no controversy.
Donald Hoffman.
Is a single guy who does not represent the consensus in the field.
So was Copernicus. So was Columbus.
It's Galileo fallacy. The fact that one guy has an opinion isn't evidence he's right.
Yeah, but the fact that, but it also demonstrates that when 99% of people disagree, it's not evidence that they're right.
No, that's exactly the opposite
I
of
call
it
that
is.
the Galileo fallacy.
Isn't that the ad populum fallacy?
Exactly.
Not if it's a consensus. Ad populum is just regular people. If it's actual experts like the consensus, then it's not fallacious.
But they could, okay.
Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy on fallacies, number 10.
Sam Harris. He's another one. He says consciousness is fundamental.
No, it doesn't.
Quran-
It's bullcrap.
Quran
He's a
said so.
materialist. No, lies. Sam Harris is
Anyway.
a strict materialist.
Okay, so we're
The
at the
biggest
top of the.
authority on consciousness, Sam Harris.
He's a neuroscientist, so I guess.
I would have said the biggest authority on consciousness is Krishna, but that's because I'm a theist.
Imaginary beings do not count as authorities.
Exactly. That's my point. So we're at the top
That's
of the 2
true.
hours. We've lost Nama, unfortunately, at the end of this,
And we've lost
okay.
Quran.
and we've lost Quran. Nama's back for the summary. Welcome back, Nama. We can kind of see a pulsating NM on the screen, but that's about it. We're not hearing anything.
You're clicking. I can hear clicking.
I think that's you clicking your mouse, TJump.
No, it's definitely not. That was because that's the sound signal from the NM is the pulsing. I heard clicking from her screen.
Oh, okay.
I heard again clicking. See? Clicking.
Maybe she can't hear us, and she's like, it's not connected. Anyway, here we are at the top of the hour. Let's go for the summary here. I can summarize your position, TJump, and I think you did a pretty good job of summarizing mine, actually. Would you like to do that?
You are arguing for a relative objective morality that is based on the hypothetical imperative that if a God exists, we should do what is maximization of our, you said some kind of spiritual something or another that I didn't understand.
Reestablishing our relationship or elevating our awareness of that metaphysical realm.
Yeah.
Or in other words, to state it very simply for people who might get lost in the words, the purpose of human life is to reestablish our forgotten relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Let me summarize your position, TJump. So you say that objective morality, we can derive an objective morality, and that the definition of good in this objective morality is less imposition of will. I get it right so far?
That's just the definition part, yeah.
Okay, and that moral intuition is our guidance?
Well, more intuition is the basis of how we come to that principle.
Okay. And I'm just going to capture that. How we come to this position. And you also said that morality as you define it is actually less evolutionary, leads to less evolutionary fitness for the individual.
Yes, if you are a moral person, you are less likely to survive because it causes you to give up resources, which makes it harder for you to live.
Okay. Isn't this I don't want to go into a whole other thing, but just quickly, isn't that altruism, and doesn't that have a fitness value?
No, altruism is selective. Altruism has a fitness value. Altruism towards everyone does not. So just my kind of where every well-being of everyone counts is not altruistic or not evolutionary beneficial.
I see.
Only
So
selective
you're not
altruism does.
Yeah, you're not a conditional altruist. You're like a principle-based.
Yeah.
You do it even when it's going to be bad for you.
Yeah.
Oh, you're from a religious perspective, you're actually a good person.
Unfortunately.
Very detached at this point
Yeah.
from possessions.
Making spiritual advancement like that on the internet, hey? Just from reading the dictionary. Amazing.
Yep.
Ram, do you want to summarize Nama Madhurya's position?
I would love to, but okay. So what I got from this is that because scientists strive to make scientific inventions, they do it for the greater good of the people, and therefore that proves that there is some kind of factor that motivates them to do it, which means that there is an objective morality, something objectively good, which I don't exactly agree with if I understood it correctly, but this is what I got from it.
Yeah. Okay. You don't have to agree with it. You just have to understand it.
Yes.
We can agree to disagree, but as long as we understand what the other positions are, then we have increased the moral good in the world. I say. I say that is more
Based
good.
on which model?
Based on all of them. And
Great.
then let's have Nama Madhurya summarize Ram's position.
I don't
Yeah.
think she's in.
Yeah.
Perfectly. Perfectly.
Because
Yes,
I didn't have a
exactly.
position. Yeah. That's great. No, but I would just like to, wrap up a little bit with TJump's, point of view. I'm not gonna make it long, but basically what I get from you is that, okay, you believe that there can be objective morality, but for that to be the case, there has to be something there that dictates it, right?
There has to be an objective feature of the world. Yes, that's what objective means.
There has to be an objective feature of the world. So so this is your take on morality, is that there has to be this fact, this objective factor that dictates what morality is. And okay, this is what I understand from you. As far as I can see, I don't know if it exists, from a materialistic point of view, from an atheistic point of view. I don't know if you can prove it even in 150 years, whatever, with the aliens and stuff.
No,
But,
150
okay,
days. 150 days to disclosure.
150 days, sorry, yeah. So, okay, at least I understood your position, and this is your hypothesis, and this is what you believe in, and I don't think I could really say anything to, make you think otherwise. But
To
because you
shake
believe that there
his
is,
firm faith.
you believe, yeah, exactly. To shake your belief that there is some kind of thing that exists that dictates morality, basically.
No, it's really simple. You just have to make a better hypothesis that makes testable predictions, which get it right.
I was going to say that's Thomas Kuhn's structure of scientific revolutions, right? You supersede a preceding explanation by providing one with greater explanatory power.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay, great. I mean, we have accomplished today reinventing the internet.
Thanks.
With this intersectional format and also taking callers. So I think we might make that a regular feature in the show. And as you suggested, TJump, figure out a way to have like a call-in number where people can call in with their questions. I actually called in with a question when you were on that debate with the Islamic guys about science.
I did see that. Yes.
Yeah.
I recall.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Got a guest starring slot, I can't remember who it was. It was about science and it was something to do with the ocean currents.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, those guys. So thank you for tuning in. TJump, I acknowledge your thoughtfulness and your dedication to reading the dictionary and delving deep into the meaning of things and distinguishing them and thinking very deeply and thoughtfully and being willing to be in challenging conversations and put yourself out there on the internet and just go for it with so many different kinds of people and spending this time with us today. Thanks
Thanks for having me on. Yep, it was fun.
And Ram, I acknowledge you for coming from the comment section to the main stage, from the stands to the pitch, and engaging with the discussions on the channel, and then taking it to another level by coming on today to put your skin in the game with TJump, and especially for, how old are you?
I'm 20 years old.
20 years old. Great. You're creating a new generation of internet debaters here at TJump. Cool. And Nama Madhurya, who's dropped off the channel at 16. It's like a new generation, a new crop is coming up, and pretty soon TJump and I will be OG, retired kind of personalities. Yeah. Thank you both. Wish you all the best for 2021, the Dyslexic Mayan Apocalypse, and 150 days to disclosure. We'll get to test TJump's hypothesis with the experimental prediction that these aliens will have the same or a similar morality to human beings. So I can't wait to see that happen. And we will definitely have to have a special alien invasion or alien reveal episode where we come back to revisit this topic when that happens. So they'll probably be about mid-year, I'd say. Thanks to our viewers for tuning in. Karan, thanks for dialing in. Cody, Yaduraj, we got some more questions here in the comments. We're out of time, but Yaduraj, subscribe to TJump's channel. You do a regular broadcast, TJump, like a stream?
Discord stream.
Yes, sometimes.
Okay, I think I saw you were playing some kind of D&D kind of card game and debating. I think that was Battledew, the one that I saw. Yeah, so you can come back and catch TJump on this channel in a further debate, or you can go to TJump's channel on YouTube and subscribe there. He's streaming all the time over there. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great week, month, year, century, minute, whatever we have left to us. Enjoy it. Thanks for tuning in.
Hare Krishna, everyone.